Yarmel Devontae Jameer Williams, better known as 051 Melly, was born on November the 19th, 1991 to a mother named Angie and a father named Yamur. Melly grew up with two siblings, including his brother Wu and his sister Kenjia. Wu's father, Jerome Golden, aka Fido, was also Melly's stepfather until he would get a life sentence in 1994 for a quadruple murder where he allegedly took part in the slaying of 4 men for selling drugs in the wrong turf. Fido, apparently being a member of the BDN, or Black Disciple Nation, who controlled the area where Melly grew up, a gang that we'll be discussing in more detail. Melly was also close to his two uncles, G Slim, who was one of the founders of the No Limit, or NLMB, gang set from the so-called east side of Chicago, who have heritage in the gang the Black P Stones, a crew known for their infamous rappers like G Herbo, Lil Bibby, and Mellow Bucks, and Kurt Mack, who was a well-known member hailing from the so-called Dro City area in Woodlawn, where the original creator of drill music, the rapper Pac-Man, also hailed from. Melly's family connections even reach all the way to the rapper Bump J, who reps the Four Corner Hustlers gang, and who was perhaps the most popular gangster rapper from Chicago before the drill era began. Clearly, gangs have been a part of Melly's life since a very young age, but interestingly, Melly's family connections could have taken his life in a completely different route than it ultimately did. Because while Melly has become known as one of the deadliest rivals of world-famous rappers like Lil Durk and King Von, they actually grew up in the same areas and circles. Melly spent his early years in the Randolph Tower, also known as the Calumet Building or simply the Met Building, a large public housing project located at 6217 South Calumet Avenue, only a block away from the infamous O Block, aka Parkway Gardens, which guys like Chief Keef and King Von would later begin to claim. Randolph Tower was known as one of the biggest Black Disciple strongholds in Chicago during the 90s and early 2000s.
Well, police discovered a gruesome double murder in a Southside Chicago apartment today after an anonymous tip. The bodies of 57-year-old Jesse Jackson, not of Operation Push, and an unidentified young woman were found murdered at 6217 South Calumet Avenue. Jackson lived in the apartment. The woman in her mid-20s lived nearby. The bodies were tied together with electrical cord, and police say there is no sign of forced entry and no weapons were found in the room.
Until their leadership was indicted for running a corporate-style drug empire in 2004, where dealers were making up to $45,000 a day selling drugs, while other members would guard the building from the roof, even making use of sniper rifles and night vision goggles. And while the gang had their headquarters in the Met Building, or the Castle as they called it, they would control the drug trade across a very large area, which included the Parkway Gardens, aka O Block. But besides Melly, numerous people famous within the drill scene grew up in the Met Building, such as Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and even FYB Main.
Everybody that's out here for real, that's like I don't even want to really name, but like Melly, all these big time, they really from 6217, right? Straight up, like FYB Main, 6217, baby, like, right. You feel me?
Like, Reese from there too, ain't he?
Yeah, 6217. Reese my cousin, 6217, baby, yeah. Right. Keith, 6217, baby.
Right. All these people came out of the building. Right.
6217, baby. Capo, right. 6217, baby.
The legendary GBE Capo.
My cousin, yeah, 6217, baby. For sure. All they had 6217 babies. They had, like, it's just like, when the Calumet building got took down, back when I was a shorty, you know, went to their blocks and you know that shit.
In fact, J Main's father was one of the board members of the gang who ruled their operations inside and outside the building.
My pops is a man, he originated in the Calumet building, and he did get indicted and he did get locked up in 04, and yeah, they labeled him as a Black Disciple. It do hit different when they labeled Pops as a Black Disciple, and he went down as one of them board members, bro. It do hit different. One year, my dad was a rich my childhood. Yeah, he ran a certain area from a certain part of Chicago, from the state to the lake. That's what I read in the paperwork on for them grade. Like I say, I ain't here putting it on Pops. It do it different.
The Randolph Tower was eventually demolished in 2006 as part of the Chicago Housing Authority's plan to get rid of almost all of the large public housing projects in the city. But at some point, Melly's family moved to another address in the same neighborhood, located near 59th and Calumet. This area eventually becoming known as the turf of the Set 600, who would later become Melly's worst enemies, as Melly's brother Wu would later recollect during his DJU interview.
I'm saying, like, we stayed there. I used to have to walk out there with my sword. Like, that's how we came out there with the sword on 59th. That's what it was, you feel me? Like, I was in their hood, I lived in their hood. Like, I walked from there. I used to walk from 59th to the 51st through the park. Like, You feel me? Yeah. But when I was out on 59, it wasn't up like how it was. You know, like, had like, look, you know, I be sneaky talking. We wasn't like into it, but I had secret animosity. But we ain't just nobody to play with. You feel me? So you ain't gonna do nothing you want to do for real.
Right.
And that's just what it was.
Okay, cool.
Although Melly would seemingly keep living in the area for some time, he would ultimately become close with kids from the opposite side of Washington Park who hung around the 51st Street and were part of a gang set known as 051 Young Money, who were primarily identifying as Mickey Cobras. Melly is in fact the same generation as the older founding members of this gang, such as Carlos Merrill, aka Lil Los, Lance Youngblood, and Isaiah Walker, aka Zico, who were all killed in 2008 when Melly was still in high school. Particularly the murder of Zico, who is often considered as the main founder of the 051 Young Money gang, would play a role in defining one of Melly's earliest rivalries with the set known as 4-6 Terror, later named THF-46, whose member Aki Walton was actually convicted of Zico's murder. Having had 3 people close to you killed during just 1 year before the drill culture would even escalate the gang rivalry in the city is truly tragic, and it may partly explain why Melly would eventually turn into such a cold-blooded killer that he allegedly was. However, this was only the beginning for Melly losing people around him. In July 2009, 21-year-old Dominic Barnes from the 051 neighborhood would be shot and killed, which would years later lead to THF-46 member and Lil Durk's good friend THF Bezu getting charged for the murder, but he would end up beating these charges. Bezu himself would allegedly almost be killed by 051 in April 2011 when 18-year-old THF-46 affiliate Quinton Turner, aka Quint, was killed in a triple shooting, where Bezu was also hit. Years later, Melly would bring up this incident while on Instagram Live with Bezu, after Bezu would claim that Melly and other 051 members were all good kids until THF forced them to hop in the streets by applying so much pressure.
Hey Melly, who forced y'all in?
Who the reason why we play with guns?
Who forced y'all in?
Y'all the first people
Y'all would drive y'all mama's cars in 8th grade, bro.
So you lying. I want to drive my mama's car. I want to drive
y'all grammar school driving y'all mama's cars. The whole Young Money was basketball players. Keep it real.
Oh, now you lying for you just said half the thing. Hey, you can say half the Young Money was basketball players. You ain't gonna say nobody know.
Hey Melly, man, half y'all was the mama's boys, man. Y'all drive y'all mama's cars in 7th and 8th grade, bro. We forced y'all in this, bro. We the reason why y'all got y'all name right now. You know that.
You say y'all the reason why we got us a name, and y'all the reason why y'all got a name. Y'all got a name. It go both ways. No, it go both ways. If we start
get
this
back
on
to
here,
that.
I don't even give a damn. You want to start this on? It's gonna go both ways.
We've been to
It's never been no killing without killing. We gonna keep it real though.
We've been into it y'all since 07, bro.
You damn right, but it's never been no killing without killing though. We ain't gonna.
I'm saying what year somebody died on my block?
You said what year?
For sure.
You go get killed in 08. I'm keeping fun. Then somebody died at 10, right?
Never heard of it.
What?
10.
It ain't having back to back. Then somebody died at 10 right there. Then you get shot then?
I got shot in 11.
All right, well, you got shot, right?
Yeah.
You got shot and then somebody checked, right? All right, we ain't gonna be
I got shot for sure.
All right, look, we ain't gonna be doing it on the internet. That ain't for the internet.
051's gang rivalries would begin to intensify during the early 2010s, boosted by the rise of social media and the start of the drill music movement. Perhaps the first casualty of this new era on 051's side was 18-year-old Tariq Mahdi, aka T Streets, who was gunned down in November 2011 on a quiet stretch of street in the Washington Park neighborhood. And while this murder has remained unsolved, there have been numerous different theories about who might have been behind it, with many thinking that this was actually the first casualty in the years-long war between 051 and the 600 set. After all, the murder took place very close to 600's hood. However, this theory has been challenged by many people who often claim that T Streets was in fact killed by 051's old enemies, THF-46. King Von, on the other hand, would famously name-drop T Streets in his popular song I Am What I Am, rapping how somebody tried to do a peace treaty and ended up dying like T Streets. These lyrics perhaps hinting that T Streets' murder has a backstory that might not be fully known to the people on the outside. But whatever actually happened, the fact that Melly's first alleged kill would take place only a few days before T Streets' first posthumous birthday, and Melly was certainly claiming to have been killing people in T Streets' name.